Jaya Radha Madhava Javihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dari Yasoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Tira Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabiyari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabiyari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dari Yasoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Vishnupad Paramahansa Prabhupada Asta Terasata Shri Shrimad, His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada, Ananda Bodhavai, Srila Prabhupada, Premji Gaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna, Shyamakun, Radhakun, Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Shri Maya Pranari Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Maya Ki Jai. Jamuna Maya Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Transcendental Book Distribution ki jai, Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Go Premanandi, all glorious Sima devotees, all glorious Sima devotees, all glorious Sima devotees, all glorious Shishi Guru and Shri Gauranga. Everyone's over here, so I thought I might as well point it out here. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, this morning reading from the Srimadbhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 25, text number 47. Kadyotav vir mukhi chaprag dvara ve katra nirmite vibrajitang janapadang yati tabhyang dhyamat sakaha kadyotav mukhi chaprag dvara vekatra nirmite vibrajitang janapadam yati tabhyam dhyamat kadyotav mukhi chaprag dvara vekatra nirmite vibrajitang janapadam yati tabhyang dhyamat sakaha. Kadyotav chamcham dharavya katra nirmite babitam janapadam yati tabhyam dhyamat sakaha kotavya dharavya katra nirmite vibrajitang janapadam yati tabhyam dhyamat sakaha. Kodyata, of the name Kodyata, Avirmukhi, of the name Avirmukhi, Cha, also, Prak, toward the eastern side, Dvara, two gates, Ekatra, in one place, Nirmite, were constructed, Vibhrajitam, of the name Vibhrajita, Janapadam, city, Yati, used to go, Tabhyam, by them, Jumat, of the name Juman, Shaka, with his friend. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The two gates named Kadyota and Avirmukhi were situated facing the eastern side, but they were constructed in one place. Through those two gates, the king used to go to the city of Vibhrajita, accompanied by a friend whose name was Juman. Purport. Their two names, Kadyota and Avirmukhi, mean glowworm and torchlight. This indicates that of the two eyes, the left side, or the left eye, is less powerful in its ability to see. Anybody have that experience? Yeah? Your left eye is better? Anybody else have that feeling? You're blind to both eyes. Although both eyes are constructed in one place, one is stronger than the other in the power to see. The king, or the living entity, uses these two gates to see things properly, but he cannot see unless accompanied by a friend, whose name is Juman. This friend is the sun. Now generally people don't think of the sun as a friend, but actually, yeah, without the sun, of course this is written at a time before there was electricity, so now we have electricity also. But even then there was also fire. Fire was also a friend, you could see with fire. But the sun, I mean, without the sun it'd be difficult to see. And the sun's amazing, it's just so powerful. The sun rises, and just a little bit comes into your room, and it lights up the whole room. You know, it's amazing. And the sun is just so much light coming from it. Although the two eyes are situated in one place, they have no power to see without the sunlight. Vibhrajitam janapadam. If one wants to see something very clearly, vibhrajitam, he must see it with two eyes and the assistance of his friend, the sunlight. Within this body, everyone is a king because he uses his different gates according to his own will. Although he is very much proud of his power to see or hear, he is nonetheless dependent on the assistance of nature. Om Jnanatamanandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshur Malitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Mukam Krotavachalam Pungun Langhayate Grim Yat Kripatarham Vande Sri Gurum Dinataranam Vanchikalpatubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaisnavevyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. So Prabhupada has many times said that the sun is also one of the eyes of the Lord. It's an eye of the Lord. Sometimes people may think that they're doing things that aren't being seen. No one knows what I'm doing. But there's many witnesses. Like Prabhupada was in college, and one of his professors was arguing about this, the law of karma, and he was criticizing it because, well, who's to see what everyone is doing? Who's the witness? And Prabhupada said, well, I was a student, so I didn't want to, speak up. Prabhupada's humble. But the main witness, the one who sees everything, is the Super Soul. Nothing is hidden from the Super Soul. Not only in our actions, but our thoughts. Every thought is known by the Super Soul. So therefore we try to have pure thoughts. It's always good to have pure thoughts. Pure actions and pure thoughts. Of course, if you have pure thoughts, then naturally pure action will come. It's from impure thoughts that impure activities come. So therefore this whole process is for purifying the mind, purifying the heart, so that our thoughts and our actions are all pure. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Upadrastanamantacha bharta bhokta maheshwar paramatmeti chapyukto dehesmin purushapara. Within this body there's another transcendental enjoyer, who is the Lord, who is the overseer, and he is the permitter. He is known as the Super Soul. So he's the, not only is he seeing everything, but he's the overseer. He allows things to happen. Nothing happens without the sanction of Krishna. So this is the power of Krishna. Just like many times when I'm on book distribution, it may be a little difficult. People aren't reciprocating, taking books and giving donations. So then I start to reflect, well, I'm not in control here. Krishna's in control. So then I start chanting this verse. I actually chant this verse like japa sometimes. Because he's the overseer and he's the permitter. Nothing happens without the sanction of Krishna. I remember one time I was on book distribution at one university, and generally you go to a university and you set up a table, and it's not a problem because we have this glorious First Amendment right, freedom of speech, freedom of religion in all public places. So I just freely set up, no problem. But occasionally, someone will say, "Well, you have to get permission," and then you gotta go and get permission. But sometimes, very rarely, they say, "Yeah, you can do it, but you just have to have a club." And the club means you got to have a president, you got to have a vice, you got to have a treasurer, and they have to be students, so it becomes a whole trip. So they don't say you can't do it, but you just got to go. You got to jump through the hoops. So the security guard says you can do it, but you just got to get permission from the dean. I said, okay. So I was thinking, oh God, this could be a trip, So as I'm walking to the dean's office, I'm chanting this verse. Just like japa, upajastana mantacha bharta bhokta maheswara paramat meti chapyukto dehismin purusha para. Krishna, you're in control here, please. So I get to her office, and the secretary says, yeah, she's a little busy now, just wait a few moments here. So I waited a couple minutes, and the dean came out, and I said, I want to distribute some Bhagavad Gitas here on campus to the students, and I was told I have to get permission from you. And she said, yeah, sure, go right ahead. Yeah. Oh, well, thank you. Yeah. And then after she left, the secretary said to me, you see, that wasn't that difficult, was it? It was kind of like, like Super Soul saying, you see, you surrendered. And no. Well, we have this great rule in this country. So nice. We distributed millions of books on the campus. So it's very auspicious that we're able to do that. So here, this verse explains how these two eyes. These are some of the two of the 9 gates, and they're important. Gates. We can read Prabhupada's books. There was one instance where a devotee was distributing books in the airport, and this person was blind. But the devotee thought, well, anyway, let me try anyway. So he said to the girl, excuse me, I have books on yoga and meditation. Do you have any facility by which you can read? And are you interested? She said, oh yeah, I'm very interested. And I do have. They have these things where you can just scan it, and you could, I guess, audio, you get some, or something like that. And she said, yeah, I could. So she got a book. She was blind, but she got a book. She was happy to get a book. So some people, they got eyes, but they're blind. And some people don't have eyes, but they can see. Kind of ironic, right? So yeah, we could read Prabhupada's books with eyes. We can see the deities. Today the outfits are just immaculate. They're just so beautiful. What a great combination of colors, and just fantastic. We can see the deities. We can see Prabhupada. So these eyes are very important. But unfortunately, in this age of Kali, people utilize their eyes in the wrong way. They want to see, like pornography is the biggest thing in society now. They want to see the opposite sex. It gets them more and more bound to the material world. And so much nonsense. Games, that's a big one also. Games. People. I'm on the airplane. Many times I'm on the airplane, and these people, 40, 45 years old, they're playing their games with their iPhone. Yeah, like, come on, you guys. Just wasting the human form of life, wasting their ability to see the right things. So yeah, to utilize these gates in the proper way, it helps us to grow spiritually. So it's described that there's 4 types of blindness. Blinded by lust, blinded by greed, blinded by anger, and material blindness. Which one do you think is the worst? Besides Balaram, he knows. Anybody know? Balaram, you know? Pride. Pride is the worst. That's, yeah. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Lust, anger, I'm sorry. Yeah. Sorry about that. Thank you for pointing that out. Lust, anger, greed, pride. Yeah, pride and material blindness. Yeah, thank you. So pride is the worst. Chanakya Pandit actually points this out, because if we're proud, then we can't take good direction. We can't take good instruction because of this. So yeah, this is the worst. So this process of Krishna consciousness is meant to lower this pride. Yeah? Pride is false ego. Yeah? I know. You know, who's to tell me? Just like it's said that you give a fool good instruction, and what happens? He gets angry. Like, who are you to tell me? I know. I know. So, pride. Of course, lust is a big one. There's one demigod who sometimes get himself into trouble. Indra. He was attracted to Sita, so he took the form of a bird, and he attacked the breast of Sita. And Ram was there, and he's going to kill the bird. But the bird, Indra, he bowed down and begged for forgiveness. Yeah, this is in the nectar of devotion. So Ram is so much integrity, and so he forgave him. Yeah. He forgave him. I mean, that's a pretty big offense. Yeah. Claws, bird, it's got claws, it makes terrible. So this shows how one should not be, lusty, and how one should be forgiving. Of course, this is the main obstacle. Just like Arjuna asked, what is it that forces a person to act practically against his own will? He doesn't want to act in this way, but he's kind of forced. Kamesha krodesha rajagunus mahasano mahapama vijnana mivarna. He says that it's lust only, Arjuna, born of motive passion, transformed into anger. It's the all-devouring sinful enemy of the world. It's the greatest enemy of the world. But people are embracing this as though it's their friend. But actually it's the enemy of the soul. It's the enemy of the soul. Covers the real knowledge. Avartam jnanam etena, jnanino nityavarna, kamarupena konte dusprena nalena cha. The wise living entity's pure consciousness is covered by his eternal enemy in the form of lust, which is never satisfied and burns like fire. Never satisfied, burns like fire. So we're covered by this. Yeah, but it's just like if you have a piece of iron and you have a magnet, they're naturally attracted, right? Naturally attracted. But if some rust gets around the iron, if a lot of rust gets around the iron, then there's no attraction at all. At all. So similarly, we're naturally attracted to Krishna because we're the eternal servants of Krishna. He's our Father. He's our best friend. Better friend than the sun. The sun is our friend, but our best friend is Krishna. So, but now this loving relationship is covered. So just like the iron, if you scrape this rust off the iron, you scrape it all off, then the attraction's going to be there again to the magnet. So what we're doing when we chant Hare Krishna, when we're reading Prabhupada's books, is we're scraping off this rusty lust. So that again, we're attracted to Krishna. Now there's a lot of rust there. So sometimes people get a little flustered, come on, I've been chanting Hare Krishna for years, decades, and still the attraction isn't there. Well, some of us got a lot of rust. So we got to keep scraping away. Yeah. Yeah. Don't get flustered. Keep scraping the rust of lust, Davida says. Jaya Yasina Kosam, in the Bhagavatam, it's stated that by this process, this subtle energy, this material energy, is dissolved. You can put some stuff on this rust that it just dissolves. What is that? There's some element you could put on the rust that it just dissolves, right? What is it anyway? After? But there's some product where you can just put it on the rust and it dissolves. So this is the Hare Krishna mantra. Eventually, it's going to dissolve. All this material contamination is going to dissolve. And that attraction will be there again to Krishna. Yeah. So another one is anger. Just like there's these Alcoholics Anonymous, there's Anger Anonymous. Oh yeah, people become, they get angry so easily. I remember I was distributing books one time in Texas, in Dallas. I had my table there, and this big guy came up. And he said, he was some feet away. I guess he was afraid he might attack me or something. He said, "You got anything to stop anger? I get angry all the time." And he was a big guy. You want to get that guy angry. So I said, well, yeah, come on over. Let me tell you something about this. See, the Bhagavad Gita, this teaches that you're not your body. You got a big, strong body, but that's not you. You're the soul within. This big, strong body, it's going to die. No matter how healthy you are, no matter how strong you are, it's going to die. So then he said, so you don't think it's important that I work out? No, it's important. I do yoga. I work out also. But you got to work out the soul. You got to do a workout for this. You got to become strong spiritually. Then you understand that I'm not this big body, but I'm a little soul. I'm part of God. I'm the eternal servant of God. Then you won't become angry so easily. And he said, all right, but that makes a lot of sense. I'm not this body. I'm the soul within. I'm a Christian. I believe I'm a soul. But in Christianity, you never hear that. I grew up a Christian also. You never hear, you're the soul, you're not the body, isn't it? You can never hear that. So he was like, wow, that's interesting. All right, good. I'll take one of your... He took a Bhagavad Gita. Give a nice donation. Yeah. There's a lot of amazing videos. Actually, we should do that. I got some amazing pastimes on book distribution. So, yeah, anger. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Jayato visyam pumsa sangaste supajayate sangat sanjayate kama kama krodho vijayate krodho bhavati samoha samoha smriti vibrama smriti brahmsad buddhinasat pranashyati. That while contemplating the objects of the senses, one develops attachment for them. From such attachment, lust develops. From lust, anger. From anger, bewilderment of memory. When the memory is bewildered, the intelligence is lost. When the intelligence is lost, one falls down again into the material pool. So it begins with this contemplation, contemplating the objects of the senses, thinking that this will bring me this pleasure. Then we become attached, and then the lust, and then anger. I'll tell you an interesting thing that happened. This is one person who was in the movement. He had parents that were devotees, and he had a girlfriend. And this, they had a relationship for a few years. And at one point she decided, well, I don't think this relation is going much further, so she decided to stop the relationship. But he was attached. And he, tried to go on with his life, all right, it happens, people break up, let me go on with my life. But he was real attached. And he couldn't break away from this relationship. So he had the key to the house. He was like one of the family members. So late at night, so he wasn't only attached, he was angry. He was angry. So this is how he showed his anger. Late at night, midnight or something, 1 o'clock, he went into the house, went into her room, and woke her up. And he had a gun. He put a gun to his head, and he said, "This is what you did to me." And he killed himself. Yeah. Anger, well, lust and anger. He was angry, and he wanted to. Imagine waking up to something like that. Geez. That'll be traumatic for her for the rest of her life. To wake up to something like that. So he was angry. He wanted to. That was how he show his anger. So yeah, anger is it's a big problem. Yeah. There's many murders out of anger and throughout the world, unfortunately. So, but the way to become free of anger is to be tolerant. Tolerant. What's another quality that will help us become free of anger? Forgiving, yeah. To be forgiving, yeah. Compassionate, yeah. To be compassionate, to be forgiving, to be tolerant. Because anger, it's one of the gateways to hell. Trivadham narakashyedam dvaram nasanmatma kama krodha tathalavas tasmat etat troyanjajet. 3 gates leading to hell: lust, anger, and greed. Yeah. So to become free of these of this contamination, that's actually helps us become very healthy. Actually, so lust, anger, greed. In the srimadbhagavatam, there was one person in the 11th canto, the Avanti Brahmana. He was filthy rich, probably a multi-millionaire, just so much money, but he was very greedy. And he was so greedy that he wouldn't even take care of himself or his family members nicely, feed them nicely and clothe. He was just like unbelievably greedy. So, due to fate, somehow gradually he started losing his wealth, due to thieves and the government and just fate. He lost everything. He lost everything. He became a pauper. What's the verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam? Yasyaham anugrahami hirshitad dhanam shanai. That Krishna, to show special mercy to his devotee, he takes everything away. And then they think, oh, what is the use of this poverty-stricken man? His family members think like this. And it gives rise to enlightenment, actually, to detachment. And that's what happened to this Avanti Brahmana. He became very detached. And he became enlightened, actually. He became a great devotee. And there's even there's the prayers of the Avanti Brahmana. And believe it or not, when someone takes sannyas, they chant I guess it's a line or a whole verse or something. We're not sannyasi. We don't. Right? Yeah, it's a verse that sannyasis chant when they chant Gayatri, I think. Yeah. So it's a secret mantra. For some reason, is it in the Bhagavatam? So it's not real secret. That's not the real. There's another one. I think there's another one. Yeah, that they chant. But that's the idea, that he was able to cross over this vast ocean of material existence by detachment. Detachment is so important. Therefore, as is mentioned yesterday, Vairagya Vijaya Bhakti Yoga Siksartha Meka Purushapara Sri Krishna Chaitanya Sarirhari Kripambadhir Yasna Mahampapadye. Sarvam Bhattacharya, he chanted these verses in glorification of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That Lord Chaitanya, he is an ocean of mercy, the very kind incarnation of Krishna. He's the most munificent, actually, because he's coming and he's given us vairagya, detachment, vidya, knowledge, and ultimately love for Krishna. So this is the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that he's come and he's giving so much mercy. It's described that when Lord Chaitanya, when he went to South India, he was doing kirtan in many of the villages, and people would just see Lord Chaitanya, that they'd become completely, they'd get purified just by seeing him. And there was one person who saw him, and when he found out what his name was, he was just chanting Chaitanya, 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 Chaitanya. Eventually he got initiated and his name became Chaitanya Dasa. Is it? So it's described that Lord Chaitanya, he would go and he would do kirtan, and he would be spinning. And I think our best spinner here is Damodar. He's a good spinner. So, Lord Chaitanya, he was spinning, and it's described that tears were coming from his eyes, and people they'd get these tears on, and it would be purified. Just to imagine getting the tears of Lord Chaitanya in your body. So the Lord Chaitanya is very, very merciful, and therefore devotees, they want to follow the instructions of Lord Chaitanya. Therefore he says, Ata eva ami agyad blun sabhavkare. He says, I order everyone to accept this Krishna consciousness and distribute it everywhere to everyone. Now he doesn't give an option here. If you want to, you can go out. He says, I order everyone to accept this and distribute it everywhere to everyone. Because Lord Chaitanya knows this is what is most needed. Like many times when I'm on book distribution, as I'm distributing the book, I tell them what is most needed throughout the world is wisdom. And they all agree, yes, this is what is most needed throughout the world is wisdom. So therefore we're distributing these books. And you'll get a vast amount of wisdom from this one Bhagavad Gita. I'll tell you a nice story in this regard. There is one man who had a friend, and this friend gave him a Bhagavad Gita. Good friend, right? So he was reading that Bhagavad Gita every day for 2 hours. He was so inspired by it that he was just reading 2 hours every day. And from reading the Bhagavad Gita, he stopped smoking. He had been smoking for about 25 years. I mean, for those of you who never smoked, I mean, you don't think it's a big, but if anybody smoked, oh my God! I even know one devotee, and he used to be in Miami, a book distributor in Miami. He had some difficulty. He went back to New York, where he was from, and he started smoking. He's been smoking now for like 30 years. I said, "Come on, Prabhu, come on, how are you gonna be able to, grow in your spiritual life? You're smoking cigarettes." He said, "Prabhu, I can't live without it." He's a devotee, initiated, everything, 30 years now he's been smoking, can't give it up. He chants his rounds. Follows everything but that. So he stopped smoking. And he said, I stopped drinking. And now I feel like I'm growing spiritually. I feel like I'm getting healed from reading the Bhagavad Gita. So then, of course, he started chanting Hare Krishna. That's how I started chanting Hare Krishna also. From reading Bhagavad Gita, I started chanting. So this is therefore it's called the Brihat Mridanga. This is called the Brihat Mridanga. Because when you go out in Harinam, people are getting the holy name. But when you give them books, they're getting the holy name and why we're chanting the holy name. So it's extra mercy. Yeah. Brihat Mridanga. So this person, his name is Donald, Dr. Donald. He called up the temple in Ohio. I forgot the name of the city. Huh? What's the you stayed? Yeah, Columbus, Ohio. Yes, we both stayed at Prema Vilas's house. Yeah. So he calls up the temple because there was in the back of the book. There's the addresses and one devotee was just like, he was so ecstatic to hear this story. He told me this story. I did a Zoom the other day and he told me this whole story. So so this devotee says, well, you know, we have another voluminous book called the Srimad Bhagavatam, which, I mean, you've written, I think you had finished reading the Bhagavad Gita. You're ready for the Srimad Bhagavatam. And he said, well, huh? Yeah, multi-voluminous. So he said, well, how much is it? And the devotee said, well, it's 18 volumes. And it's about $250. And he said, well, I'd love to have it, but because of this COVID-19, I don't have a job. So the devotee said, well, let me see what I can do to help you out there. So he put it out on the forum. You know, congregation there, there's this person, he's read the Bhagavad Gita, loves it, wants the Srimad Bhagavatam, he's out of work because of COVID-19. Anybody want to sponsor a set for him? Within 2 minutes, he got a sponsor. And that's cool, huh? That's like cooperation, right? So the devotee called back this Donald and said, I got good news. Practically as soon as they hung up, he called back and said, listen, I got a sponsor for you. We're going to send the whole set to you, 18 volumes. And he started crying. He started crying. He was so ecstatic that now I get the postgraduate study. I mean, the Bhagavad Gita, it's like he was just so ecstatic reading the Bhagavad Gita. So now he gets the whole Srimad Bhagavatam, which is Amala Puranam. I have more good news. You want some more good news? Srimad Bhagavatam is a good news channel. Yeah? You know, in Brazil, they used to have a good news radio station, just good news. You know, generally you go to the news and it's all bad news, right? Well, this is just good news. But unfortunately, after 6 months, they ran out of good news. They had to stop the channel. But with Srimad Bhagavatam, you get good news every day and every morning. Good news channel, yeah. So some of you might know that Vijaya Dasa, he started this Bhadra campaign, you know, to sell 10,000 Srimad Bhagavatams for the Bhadra campaign. They did 21,263 this year during this Bhadra. Huh? Srimad Bhagavatam says 21,000. Now, in the previous 2 years, they tried to do the same 10,000, but they got to 7,000. This year, they tripled that. And 7,000 was the biggest, that was the most we ever did in ISKCON in a year. They tripled that during the COVID-19. Online. So, it's amazing. Well, that was Vijaya Dasa though. Because he was doing so many Srimad Bhagavatams up there in Silicon Valley. And he thought, well, let's you know, try to get it going more in the world. And he did that the past 2 years also, but now because we're locked down, they could just really focus. So that's what they did. They just focused on these Bhagavatams. 21,000. That's cool, huh? Huh? Worldwide, yeah. And that's so far this year. It's not over yet. I think there was some discussion. We're going to do 50 sets here, right? I think that was the goal. Any idea how many we've done so far? 25. Okay, we're halfway there. Balaram, you got us. Yeah. You guys have your set already? Okay. Thought I'd check you. So, any question? Comment? You have a question? No. Okay. All right. Then thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki? Yeah.